Before the episode begins, just a quick message from Lucy Tomlinson from Welcome Pilates.
Merry Christmas, Brian, and to all the listeners of your podcast. I hope you've had a wonderful 2024. Looking ahead to the new year, if you are thinking about starting Pilates, wanting a little bit of assistance or guidance in your fitness journey, then do come and check us out. We're Welcome Pilates in Twickenham, and we would love to help you start your journey or continue your journey depending on your Pilates experience. We've got a team of amazing teachers, and your first class is free. So do come and check us out. We're welcomepilates.com, or drop us an email, hello@welcomepilates.com, and we'd be happy to invite you to a free taster class. You can also gift a month's membership to a loved one. Maybe you already know someone who comes to our classes, and if you'd like to gift them the joy of movement, then feel free to get in touch and we can do the rest. Look forward to seeing and moving with you in 2025.
So you're thinking about running, but not sure how to take the first step. My name is Brian Patterson, and I'm here to help. Welcome to Brian's Run Pod. Welcome back to Brian's Run Pod, and it's me, Brian, talking to you about all things running. In the second part of my discussion with Andrea, I delved deeper into how she coaches clients from the other side of the world. Plus, we find out what it was like to run the New York Marathon. I know you'll enjoy listening to the second part of my interview with Andrea, so here we go. Let's get into it. So with those online clients, you sort of like you're providing, obviously you're doing an online program, but you know, what's the, you know, they come back with feedback about how that went, you know, how does that sort of transaction work?
Sure. So I have an app called Training Peaks, which I'm sure many of your listeners will be familiar with.
Okay. Yeah.
So it kind of operates a little bit like a calendar or a desk planner where I can populate workouts, say on a Monday, a Thursday and a Saturday, for example. Yeah. And it'll sync with the client's smartwatch. And then
brilliant.
Depending on whatever the session is, it'll prompt them through it. So let's just say it's walk-run intervals, kind of beep at them when it's time to run and beep when it's time to walk, kind of prompt them or coach them through the session. And then when it's finished, they save it. The data feeds back through the Training Peaks app into my system where I can kind of look at the data and just make sure that we can see things like, you know, fitness and heart rate and fatigue and training stress scores and things like that are where they should be given the client's goals.
Brilliant.
And then about once every 2 weeks or so, that clients and I will connect either by phone or by Zoom, and we'll kind of have a look at things together and make sure we're both happy or what needs to be changed or what's not working or what's causing them, you know, to hurt. So it's a constant kind of adjustment.
Yeah.
And then we do also have a little online WhatsApp chat where all the online clients can kind of cheer for one another and share war stories, and so that's quite nice as well. Yeah.
Do you like that sort of remoteness type coaching? I mean, I know nothing will be able to take you away with, you know, one-to-one sort of thing, but I know it's a sort of a different aspect of coaching, that remoteness. Like, you know, you can, like you said, you can coach someone and they can I think that's amazing. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a bit of a technology geek, but that you can get their running data onto your system, you know, and you're 14,000 miles away. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I do. I do think it's amazing, and I do like it. And I think, honestly, with the glories of technology now, we're never actually all that far apart.
Exactly.
So it's easy to build rapport. We can see each other if we need to video call. We certainly talk on the phone. And we have usually at the start of our coaching relationship anyway, the thing that has brought us together is the sort of synergy of personalities and the way that we look at running and the kind of things that we're wanting from our running journey. So it's usually quite easy to bond over that. And I do like it. And I love seeing the rewards that it takes into their lives, and then how that also ripples out into their families and communities. And So it's been really life-changing for a lot of people, but most especially for me.
Yeah, yeah. Because I know, the way you present yourself on the website, there are so many boxes that were ticking in my head, thinking, yes, I'm like that. I'm like that. I'm like that, And although I've never completed a marathon, I've done, I think the most is 10 miles or whatever. But maybe it's because, I'm 62 at the moment. So I tend to every other week, it seems, I seem to be suffering from injury or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's quite entrepreneurial of you, let's say, the way you specifically, what you've written on the website sort of does tick a lot of boxes with quite a lot of people in a particular maybe segment of the market sort of thing,
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
But
yeah.
So now let's get on to New York before we.
Yeah.
So how did you get? Was this with your running community in Australia that went over to New York, and how did you sort of get organize that?
Yeah. Well, a couple of years ago, maybe a year, 2 years ago, not sure, I watched a movie called I'm Not a Runner,
which I've watched, which I think is great. Brilliant movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the woman who made that amazing documentary is a local Australian coach and runner called Anna Liptak. And she has a company called Adventure Time Travel. She takes runners to participate in all the world majors every year. So I watched that movie. It just really sort of inspired me because in that particular documentary, she tracked 5 or 6 of her clients and coached them to the New York Marathon. And it really resonated with me because a lot of the people who are featured in that movie have gone through divorces or some sort of grief or a real big kind of weight loss challenge or a physical illness. Anyway, they've all got a very powerful reason for wanting to do this hard thing, which they do, and they were successful. And anyway, it felt like I was watching my own story in many ways. And I guess I must have just talked about it to various clients about the fact that I'd always dreamed of doing New York. And more than one of them said, well, if you ever go, please tell us, we'd like to come with you. So I reached out to Anna and her team and I said, well, is there any chance that I could bring a group of slowlies and we could join you at the next one? She was gracious enough to say yes. So myself and 9 clients, there was a group of 10 of us, tacked ourselves onto Anna's tour. And we went over there and, it was quite cool.
Oh, I see. And so you all went over there. So were you, did you, fix up an Airbnb, and were you staying in the same place or that kind of thing?
Yeah, we were all in the same place. So the company sells you a kind of a package, which includes, as overseas runners, we're fortunate in that we can buy this kind of guaranteed race entry that
I see.
This package.
Okay. Yeah.
But then it comes together with things like a hotel and some bus transfers and a tour and a couple of meals and, your trip to the expo. And it's quite nice in that this kind of package is given to you, which I found quite reassuring because I had never been to New York before. So I was worried about all the thinking that would come with it. Like, how do you get there and how does it work and what time and how much does it cost? And, when you go with the sort of tour organizer, luckily they do all that thinking for you. So that was lovely. So yes, we all stayed in a hotel on the Upper West Side, which as it turns out wasn't very far from the finish line. Real blessing.
Oh, yeah.
So it was really great to have this sort of tribe, our slowlies, but also Anna's bigger tour. So she had a lot. She had about 150 runners in total.
All right.
Then we were able to participate in all those activities and get to meet people, and it was really wonderful.
And obviously you'd done quite a bit of training beforehand, and, did you feel everyone was sort of, had any concerns about some of the people you were going with, or were you quite happy about, they were up to the challenge?
Let's take a quick break.
Hi, just a quick break to say a big thank you to you for listening to Brian's Run Pod. We are fast approaching the holiday season and the new year, and I hope 2024 was kind to you and that you will reach your fitness and life goals in 2025. I also wanted to say a very big thank you to all my guests. there are too many to mention. I started this podcast journey back in January 2023 last year, thinking it would only last 3 months. Now 100 episodes gone, and I'm still hungry to provide you with more riveting content for 2025. Best wishes for you. And now back to the podcast. But before that, and now a word from a couple of our past guests.
Hi, Brian and Brian's Runboard listeners. I'm Merrily, author of Just Run. Just Run is the perfect gift for every runner or anyone thinking about starting running in 2025. In my book, I share my journey from barely hitting 3,000 steps a day to becoming an ultra runner in just a few years. A few months ago, I completed my first 100-mile race. Just Run is packed with practical tips for beginner runners. Running is for everyone. You don't have to be fast to go far. You just need to run your own way. That's what Just Run is all about. You can grab your copy on Amazon, including on Kindle Unlimited, or get a signed copy from my website, merrilyruns.co.uk. Feel free to reach out to me on my website or through my socials at merrilyruns. Looking forward to connecting and wishing you all a wonderful Christmas and many happy miles in 2025. Thank you so much.
Hey, this is Andrea, popping up from Sydney, Australia to say hello and to thank Brian for creating a forum which is so beneficial for those of us who are seeking a richer experience of running. If you're like me, you probably run for a host of reasons. These might include time alone, mental health, personal accomplishments, or maybe reclaiming a sense of self, possibly for the first time in a long time. And you might have noticed that the narrative around running is also changing. Until recent years, you probably mostly heard it talked about through the lens of metrics. Things like getting faster, getting stronger, getting thinner, getting better, getting a spot on the podium. But thanks to voices like Brian's, more and more we're starting to think about running as a means to becoming a better person, to enjoying the morning, to achieving a fundraising goal, or maybe just making yourself proud. And if that sounds like you and you're interested in getting some coaching support for whatever your running journey looks like, I invite you to take a look at Run with the Slow Coach. I host a global coaching community for older, slower, bigger, injured, and back-of-the-pack runners. I'm fully accredited through Athletics Australia. I'm endorsed by the Australian Trail and Ultra Runners Association. And in 2023, I won a local business award for the most outstanding fitness service. I coach online and I promise to keep you accountable because I know what it takes to start a running journey, especially if you're not talented or you haven't been active your whole life. And I believe that runners like us deserve all the science, all the rigor, all the empathy, and especially all the support to safely progress to whatever your finish line looks like. And I'm really here for that. So find out more by following me on socials at Run with the Slow Coach or visit runwiththeslowcoach.com. I really am passionate about the life-changing benefits of being active. And I'm grateful to Brian for everything he does in this space. And now, back to you. Thanks so much. I definitely knew that everybody was up to the challenge, but I'll qualify that and say of the 9, apart from myself, who had done a marathon before, everybody else was coming to their first marathon. So 9 runners approaching their first marathon. Many had kind of considerable talent. Many I knew had enough sort of juice in the tank that they'd be fine. But there were 3 ladies, so 2 from New Zealand and also just a local runner, Bronwyn, who, running is a really significant physical challenge for them. And
Right.
I knew that they would be out on the road for a really long time. And Bronwyn in particular had attempted a marathon twice before and always DNF'd. So she'd either been swept off the course because she wasn't able to make the cutoff times.
Okay.
Or she'd just chosen to not finish. And I guess I just had a lot of hopes for all 3 of them that they were going to get the race of their dreams, because obviously they'd spent years training an awful lot of money to go all the way over there.
Yeah.
Just a lot invested in in the day. But fortunately, they all did brilliantly. So
Brilliant.
Bronwyn finished perfectly at about 8, should check. I'm going to say about 8 hours.
Yeah.
And Rosie and Alison from New York were a fair bit longer than that. But that's great. That's, that was the whole point. And they were able to come in as sort of some of the final finishes of the race. And New York Marathon does this wonderful thing called Project Finish, where they literally have hundreds of people there with glow sticks and bells and cheering and singing and clapping and making sure that all the finishing runners come in safely, despite the fact that, they've been out in the roads in New York at night and it's dark and it's cold and they're in Central Park, and they just make sure that they still get that wonderful finish line vibe.
Brilliant.
And all 3 of them got that, which was amazing. And so, the whole team slow coach finished. We all got our wonderful medals and just that kind of incredible sense of personal achievement that money can't buy, which is you did something that, 6 months ago you didn't think you were capable of doing.
Brilliant. How did you do?
I had a great race.
Great.
But I must stress that I had already done 2 marathons this year. So New York was going to be my 3rd marathon. And I had literally only finished another marathon, I think 3 weeks prior. So I didn't want to run hard. And I really, really wanted to celebrate. I wanted to just party the whole race. So New York, just the city, let alone the race, had been the kind of culmination of a lifelong dream for me. I'd always wanted to travel there. I'd always got a very strong personal interest in theatre and Broadway and things like that as well. So I really wanted to go and see the shows and see the sights and see the city and experience it as a tourist. And I'd heard so much about this mythical race with this sort of literally 2 million New Yorkers come down onto the street to support these 50,000 runners. And you just kind of run through this barrel of noise of people cheering and ringing bells and, shaking signs and setting off these confetti cannons into the air and offering beers and bagels. And it's just this 42-kilometer party. And I really wanted to take it all in. So
You must be doing floating. It must have been felt like floating.
I don't think my feet touched the floor once.
Brilliant.
I just flew through, and very slowly.
No,
that was the point. I
that's not the point.
To dance.
Exactly,
I stopped to take photos. I stopped to chat. I, stopped. Yeah, occasionally I'd bump into clients and we'd stop for selfies. Or it was just wonderful. And then one of my clients, Sally, her brother's actually lives in New York. So his apartment was at about the 30-kilometer mark. So he'd actually even set up like a little base camp for us, which had a big sign that said, "Go Sydney Slowlies." And he had a chair and he had this, we call it an esky, like a cooler box.
For,
Coke and sandwiches and lollies and boiled roasted salted potatoes. And when I saw him, I literally stopped for, I think it was 20 or 25 minutes. And I chatted and I ate and I waved at all the other runners who were going past. And I mean, in any normal frame of events, that would just be a stupid thing to do on a marathon. But New York is not a normal race. And I just really wanted to party and remember it. And I feel like I got the race that I wanted. I feel like I got the race of my dreams and then some. So it was amazing.
It's like if you complete it too quickly, you've missed out.
For sure. And you spend so much time training and so much money to get there. I mean, it's a 20-hour flight from Sydney.
Right.
So why rush it? I wanted to remember, I wanted to spend as long as I could out there. And that was just my philosophy on the day. And I'm so glad I did. I had the absolute time of my life.
Did the time difference affect you, sort of from a physiological type of, or were you able to get there early enough and then, adjust for the time difference and ready for the race?
Yeah, I think I made some very deliberate choices in that regard. I arrived in New York on the Monday with the race only being on the Sunday. So I had, 5 days or so to acclimatize. I went to see a pharmacist before I left Sydney, and she gave me something that would help me sleep, so that from the minute I got on the plane, I tried to pretend that I was on New York time and kind of force my body to stay in the New York rhythm of things.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think
Did you
I
have
did
to
what
stay
I
up?
could.
Did you have to stay up longer and then go to sleep, or was it sort of?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it was quite tough going the first day or two, but you I made myself do it because I knew that I wanted the discomfort of the jet lag and kind of forcing myself into the right routine was the price I was willing to pay for a good race. And then you probably still do have a bit of residual fatigue on race day, but honestly, you forget that pretty quickly once that race day vibe arrives. And yeah, it was fine.
Did you go for
It was
any?
amazing.
I know you probably wanted to explore New York, but did you go for any runs beforehand?
Yes,
You did. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
All right.
So the tour organizers were great in that they put on quite a few shakeout runs for us in Central Park.
Yeah.
But also quite a lot of the other kind of fitness influencers or people that I like to follow on YouTube or Instagram. And there's a lot of people organizing a lot of runs around the New York Marathon. So you were able to join in any number of those. And then I, in particular, wanted to do park run as well the day before the marathon. I'm just a bit of a park run junkie. So
yeah,
I opted to go to New Jersey.
Yeah. What number are you on now?
186.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So it must have been quite a good badge to have, New York Park Run.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the time, my fourth country. It wasn't actually a New York park run. Weirdly, there are no park runs in New York. So I had to travel to New Jersey to do that.
Okay.
But it's the thing you do when you're a park run addict. And it was a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
Well worth it.
Yeah. I suppose park run must be very different. A park run very different to kind of the New York Marathon. It's none of the same things.
Yeah,
but yeah.
For sure. But I think most of the runners at that particular park run, it's called Delaware and Raritan Canal Park Run in New Jersey. I'd say probably 3/4 of the runners there that day were tourists like me who were in town for the marathon. So, we did bring a bit of a marathon vibe with us, I think.
Yeah. I think it was just recently, was it 20 years or something? There was the anniversary of the first park run, which is
that's right,
Bushy Park.
Yeah.
Which is down the road from where I live here, because I live in Twickenham, so it's only down the road.
Ah, wonderful.
So if you come to the UK, you got to go do that one, Bushy Park. That's where it all started.
I absolutely will.
Yeah.
I'm actually coming to London in April, and I've pretty much built my whole itinerary around being at Bushy. So.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, good. Oh, excellent. Oh, good. Well, never know. Well, you never know. We might meet up there.
Cool. That would be great.
That would be great. So, all right. So, obviously, New York was a great experience.
Yes.
If you had the time and money, obviously, I understand that you probably want to do it again, or would you feel that box being ticked and you'd maybe do a marathon elsewhere?
Oh, look, I would love to do it again. But as you say, time and money being what they are, I'd probably try to do some of the other world majors if I could. And it's a very big if.
Yeah.
But also, I guess, being a slow coach, I also have to be mindful of what races are practical for me to do and complete in the finishing time. So I do have a few races on my horizon. I'm probably going to take a group to run the Queenstown Marathon in New Zealand at the end of 2025, and another group to run the Honolulu Marathon in 2026.
Oh, wow.
That race has no cut-off time.
That would be amazing.
So I'm hoping to build a little bit of a tribe around these running events and traveling but always through the lens of having lots of time and lots of support to complete them, safely.
Fancy Tokyo? No.
I would love to do Tokyo. I'd love to see Japan.
Yeah.
But I haven't even investigated the cutoff times for that, and I do know that that's a hard one to get in. And I certainly wouldn't ever qualify on running times. So I would always need to look at other ways to get in, like a charity bib or a tourism operator. Yeah.
I think I've had a wonderful chat today. I've even looked at my questions because I think it's been brilliant talking to you. But before we go, I do have a couple of things. Are there any tips for beginners? Because obviously this is a podcast for beginner runners. I mean, in your experience since you've been coaching, so what are the tips for people who are just looking to start out?
I think it's a hard one, but I think if you can, trying to free yourself from these sort of expectations of what your run should look like, or what your run should feel like, or what you should look like, or any of those things.
Mm.
I've always felt that pace is the least interesting thing about your journey as a runner. And it can be helpful to take your focus off it, because everybody can run. We just can't all run the same way or at the same speed or anything like that. But if it's important to you, then finding your way into running and doing it sort of incrementally and safely can be really just wonderfully life-affirming and, in fact, transformational in every way. So it's really, really worth trying. To start where you are, do what you can, run for a bit, walk for a bit, but don't worry about how fast you are. That just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just a few quick-fire questions. Do you have a favourite running route near where you are?
Oh, well, right now I'd have to say the 5 boroughs of New York.
All right. Yes, of course.
But I do also love, there's an area called De Broid Head here in Sydney, which I love running through.
And how far is that?
Well, from my house, it's probably about 20 kilometres away, but actual sort of, you can run through the national park. There's probably about 5 or 6 kilometres of runnable tracks there. But what's special about it is that it's quite elevated. It's quite high up.
Right.
But you have these 180-degree views out over Sydney Harbour, and, you know, it's just full of these gorgeous wildflowers and birds. And on the right day, at the right moment in time, you can kind of feel like you have Sydney to yourself, just this magical carpet of grasses and birds and flowers and this kind of cerulean sea that's twinkling out all around you. And it's too beautiful for birds.
Do you have a running snack, a go-to running snack? Are you into nutrition?
Yeah, if I'm wearing my hydration vest, I'll often carry boiled salted potatoes. I love this. I love those. But otherwise,
carbohydrates,
I am known to plan my runs around the McDonald's because I like the hash browns.
Oh, right.
The carbs.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just Cliff bars, gels, all the usual. But I definitely have a soft spot for potatoes.
Yeah. What was the best piece of running advice you ever received?
I think it was when I was one of the many iterations of me berating myself for being, too slow and too incompetent and not making the kind of progress that I wanted. And someone said to me that in order to be the runner you want to be, you first have to be the runner that you are today.
That's good advice.
And that really resonated. And that's like books I used to read my children when they were little. It's like, you can't go through it and you can't go around it and you can't go over it, you can't go under it and blah, blah, blah. You just have to go through it. You've just got to, hold space with the discomfort and keep going. And if the thing that you want is in the future, then you've got to do the work that's required today. And then I guess related to that too is that the quality of your thoughts determine the quality of your run. And that's really helped me too, just to sort of really deliberately choose to be happy or be present or be grateful or be silent or be at peace with my own frustration or whatever it is, but just to really kind of work on my mind as much as I work on my body.
Right. And just a couple more. It could be coaching or running. Do you have, what are your goals this year or coming year? I mean, I know you've talked about possible marathons that you're looking to go on in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do some more world majors when time and money permits, but I think closer to home, I wouldn't mind having another crack at a couple of ultras. It's been a couple of years since I last did an ultra. So we have, this backyard format that is sort of taking off.
Right.
I have one here very close to my house that I'm quite tempted to have a go at. And either that or...
Is that 40K or is that, sorry, how 50K or?
Well, it's a loop that's usually 6.7 kilometers is the loop.
Yeah.
And you do it every hour on the hour.
Oh, right.
So you kind of just run this loop over and over. again, and the format is the race keeps going until there's just one person standing. So the run might, the race might go for 12 hours or it might go 6 days. Who knows? But in my case, it won't be 6 days. I would probably just have a goal of perhaps trying to get to something like a 50-kilometer mark or something like that. But for me, the challenge is not so much the distance, it's the format of having enough consistency and having enough speed, being a relative term, but being able to do 6.7 every hour on the hour and being able to kind of repeat that with enough consistency to get to the goal. I think that would be quite an interesting challenge. And I really would be up against my limits, but that's one of my favorite places to be.
Great. That sounds quite a nice, interesting format. Last question is that if you're stuck on a lift with your hero, who would that be, dead or alive?
Oh, my goodness.
Or do you have one? I don't know.
Hero. Well, I don't know about heroes, but there's certainly some people I find fascinating. There's just some really interesting, brave, powerful people that fascinate me. The likes of the actress Helen Mirren or Emma Thompson or Stephen Fry. I find his brain just fascinating. But heroes, don't know. Yeah, I'm going to have to take a pass on that one.
No. Those names were good because anyone could inspire you, it could be any one of those people. I mean, Helen Mirren is an amazing actress and she's got such longevity, as it were.
Exactly.
So,
and courage.
And yes. And someone like Stephen Fry, you could just listen to him for, you could say, absolutely. Just start talking and I'll listen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember Nicole Kidman was on the Graham Norton show with him, and she was like, her mouth was like, "How do you know so much?"
I know. He's just a walking encyclopedia.
Yeah, he is
phenomenal. Yeah.
What I could say is that I've really enjoyed our chat, Andrea. I hope you did, and I could have talked to you for hours, especially about New York, because that was really illuminating. Seeing as that your first guest I've had who've done the New York Marathon, but it was great to listen to because a lot of things resonated. I too have a daughter who was born quite early as well. So
wow. And how old is she now?
She's 21.
Wow.
So
you've done well.
So she was premature. She was 28 weeks premature. So
wow. Yes.
So yeah.
So that's
I can understand.
Event all of its own.
Yeah. So, but what I say is, thank you very much for coming on and taking some time out. I know there had a few issues getting the time zones right, but never mind. But you never know. If you do decide to come in February, maybe we'll meet up in February and then we can.
I look forward to it. And thank you very much for the podcast. And thank you very much for having me.
No problem. Okay. All right. Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks very much, Andrea. And I'll let you know when it comes out. This will probably be a Christmas episode, I think.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah. So I'll because it will probably I think maybe in a couple of weeks' time. So it'll come over Christmas, but I'll let you know when it comes out. So
well, fingers crossed the sound was okay, and thanks. And sorry about me getting the time and things wrong, but
no, it's all right. It's okay.
All's well that ends well.
Good. Oh well. Good luck for the the training and the coaching and everything, and I hope everything goes well with your.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
lovely to chat.
Nice to do.
Thanks,
bye-bye.
Brian. Bye.
And that's a wrap for another exhilarating episode of Brian's Run Pod. Thanks for tuning in, folks. As always, we've got you back with all things running, and next week, get ready for some more awesome beginner hints and tips to kickstart your running journey. Don't forget, you can now send me a message. Yep, you heard it right. Brian's Run Pod has now become interactive with the audience. If you look at the top of the episode description, tap on Send Us a Text Message. You can now tell me what you think of the episode, or alternatively, what you would like covered. If you're lucky, I might even read them out on the podcast. Hey, if you want to keep up with all the latest updates, behind the scenes fun, and even some exclusive content, make sure to follow me on social media. We've also launched a shiny new Facebook page. Just simply search for Brian's Run Pod and give us a like. And don't forget to hop over to Instagram, where you can catch all our visual adventures at Brian's Run Pod. For those of you who love diving deep into the episodes, head over to our website, www.briansrunpod.co.uk, and there you'll find some detailed show notes and handy chapter markers, making it easy to navigate through your favourite discussions. Please leave a review, as it will help others find this podcast. Music is by Happy Day by Stock Audio, not forgetting artwork by Alice Patterson, and also thank you to my producer, Anna Patterson. So till next week, thanks again for listening.